The shocking truth. How my ex-boyfriend manipulated my mom to kick me out. My stepdad is my ex-boyfriend. He manipulated my mom to kick me out of my house. I'm Mia, 20 years old. Yeah, I know. The daughter of a wealthy and powerful family here in New York City. My parents are super successful entrepreneurs running a giant multinational company. I've always been surrounded by money and everything you could ask for, but that never spoiled me. I like to think I kept my head on straight, stayed humble and compassionate. Life took a turn when I was 18. My dad passed away, leaving a huge hole in our family. But you know what? My mom. She's one tough cookie. She took over the company by herself and even managed to expand it to what it is today. I have so much respect for her. There was this guy, Jaden. We were young and in love, all sunshine and rainbows. But then reality hit. Our backgrounds, our plans for the future. It was all just too different. He ended up leaving, and let me tell you, it broke my heart. On a beautiful day, my mom came home with this new guy. Charming, captivating, the whole package. But then I looked into his eyes, and a feeling of euphoria ran through me. It felt familiar, like I'd seen it somewhere. There was something about him that made me feel wary. He wasn't just interested in my mom. He was after something bigger, something that had to do with all the money and power in our family. I couldn't just sit back and watch him manipulate my mom. This wasn't just about the money. It was about my family, my freedom, even my safety. So, I decided to fight back with everything I had. I used every trick in the book to expose his schemes and protect what was rightfully ours. Our story starts like any typical high school romance, innocent, filled with dreams, and oblivious to the storm brewing ahead. He was Jaden, 10 years older than me, a guy with a charming smile and easy confidence. I was Mia, the girl with dreams bigger than my city could contain. When our paths crossed in the school cafeteria, it felt like fate had intervened. Jaden was magnetic, drawing me in with his playful banter and infectious laughter. He made me feel seen, like I mattered in a world that often overlooked me. We became inseparable, spending every free moment together, lost in the intoxicating whirlwind of young love. But beneath the surface of our romance lurked shadows of uncertainty. Jaden had a temper that flared up unexpectedly, turning our passionate love affair into a roller coaster ride of highs and lows. His jealousy was suffocating, making me feel like I was walking on eggshells, afraid to set him off. I tried to brush off his mood swings as the quirks of young love, but as time went on, they became harder to ignore. Our arguments grew more frequent, fueled by misunderstandings and hurt feelings. For every low, there were moments of undeniable tenderness, stolen kisses under the stars, whispered promises of forever in the darkness of my bedroom. As I graduated high school and embarked on the next chapter of our lives, our relationship faced its greatest test yet. Jaden's possessiveness escalated, his insecurities bubbling to the surface in toxic waves of anger and control. He became suspicious of every interaction I had with other guys, accusing me of betraying his trust at every turn. I tried to reassure him, to make him see that his fears were unfounded, but it was like trying to calm a raging storm with gentle words. Our once bright future began to dim under the weight of his insecurities, leaving me feeling trapped in a relationship that was slowly suffocating me. Then came the final blow, the revelation of his infidelity. I caught him red-handed, his lies unraveling before my eyes like a threadbare sweater. The pain was indescribable, a dull ache that settled in the pit of my stomach and refused to let go. I wanted to scream, to lash out at him for betraying my trust and breaking my heart into a million irreparable pieces. But in the end, there was nothing left to say. I walked away from our relationship, leaving behind the shattered remnants of our love and vowing never to look back. It was a painful decision, but it was also liberating, a chance to reclaim my life and rebuild myself from the ground up. Looking back on those tumultuous days, now I see them not as a period of regret or sorrow, but as a journey of self-discovery and growth. Jaden may have been my first love, but he was not my last. And though the scars of our past will always linger, they serve as a reminder of the strength and resilience that lies within me. Our relationship may have ended in heartache and betrayal, but it also taught me invaluable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of staying true to oneself. As I stand on the threshold of a new chapter in my life, I carry those lessons with me, a beacon of hope guiding me towards a brighter tomorrow. Life had settled into a routine since my mom married Jaden. He seemed like a decent guy, always polite and helpful around the house. I accepted him into our family, grateful that my mom had found someone who made her happy. But there was always something about Jaden that didn't quite sit right with me, a nagging feeling of unease that I couldn't shake. Then, one fateful day, everything changed. My mother asked me to get her the files she kept in the closet. While I was searching, something compelled me to open Jaden's locker. Luckily, he had just stepped out. I approached Jaden's locker and noticed the key was still in the lock, suggesting he had just taken something out and left. I opened the locker and found Jaden's medical records. When I opened them to see what was written inside, the pictures fell to the ground. I picked them up to look at them and was so shocked when I saw those pictures. They were Jaden's plastic surgery photos. I looked at them one by one, and in the last photo, I couldn't believe my eyes. My stepfather was my ex-boyfriend. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, knocking the breath from my lungs and leaving me reeling in disbelief. How could this be happening? How could the man who had once been the love of my life now be standing in my living room, wearing the guise of a loving stepfather? I felt a surge of anger and betrayal rise within me, threatening to consume me whole. If Jaden was capable of hiding such a massive secret from me, what else was he hiding? What did this mean for our family? And most importantly, what did he want from us? The questions swirled in my mind, each one more terrifying than the last. I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. But I knew that I couldn't confront Jaden until I had all the facts, so I began to dig. I scoured old yearbooks, social media profiles, and any other sources I could find for clues about Jaden's past. What I uncovered was a tangled web of lies and deceit, a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to a past that he had tried so desperately to bury. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, the truth emerged in all its horrifying clarity. Jaden wasn't just my ex-boyfriend. He was a manipulative and deceitful man who had wormed his way into my mom's life with ulterior motives. He had orchestrated our meeting, pretending to be a kind and caring boyfriend while secretly plotting to gain control over my family's property. The revelation left me reeling. My world turned upside down in an instant. I felt a mixture of anger, betrayal, and disbelief swirling within me, threatening to consume me whole. How could I have been so blind? How could I have let myself be fooled by someone so manipulative and deceitful? But as the shock began to fade, a steady determination took its place. I refused to let Jaden destroy my family, to tear apart everything we had worked so hard to build. It was time to confront him, to expose him for the fraud that he was, and reclaim control over our lives. Armed with the truth and a newfound sense of purpose, I prepared to confront Jaden and unravel the web of lies that he had spun around us. It wouldn't be easy, and there would undoubtedly be obstacles along the way, but I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As I took a deep breath and steeled myself for the confrontation to come, I knew that this was just the beginning of a journey that would test my strength, my courage, and my resolve. But I was determined to see it through to the end, no matter what it took. The days following the revelation of my stepdad's true identity felt like walking through a minefield, each step fraught with tension and uncertainty. The air in our home crackled with unspoken words, heavy with the weight of secrets and betrayal. I couldn't escape the feeling that danger lurked around every corner, ready to pounce at the slightest provocation. As I tried to piece together the fragments of my shattered reality, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being scrutinized under a microscope by someone with sinister intentions. Jaden's once friendly demeanor had morphed into something altogether more menacing. His smiles were now laced with malice, and his words dripped with poison. I began to notice subtle changes in his behavior. The way he would linger a little too long in the hallway, the way his eyes would follow me with a predatory gleam whenever I entered a room. It was as if he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, to unleash his fury and exact his revenge for daring to uncover his secrets. But despite the growing sense of dread that gnawed at my insides, I refused to cower in fear. I knew that I couldn't let Jaden intimidate me into submission. I couldn't let him win without a fight. So, I armed myself with knowledge, delving deep into his past in search of the truth that he so desperately wanted to conceal. What I uncovered was a web of deceit so tangled that it made my head spin. Jaden had been playing a dangerous game for years, manipulating my mom into believing that he was a loving and devoted partner while secretly scheming to seize control of our family's property. He had been gaslighting her, planting seeds of doubt in her mind, and twisting the truth until it was unrecognizable. But worst of all, he had convinced my mom to turn against me, to cast me out of the house like a leper, so that he could claim my property for himself. The betrayal cut deep, slicing through the fragile bonds of trust and leaving behind a raw wound that refused to heal. I confronted my mom about Jaden's true intentions, laying out the evidence before her like a prosecutor presenting a case to a jury. She didn't believe me and told me we'd talk about it later that night. I overheard a conversation between him and my mom. He was mouthwatering me, fabricating a story about me wanting to steal her property. He swore oaths and sweet-talked my mom, who was touched and decided to believe him instead of me. A wave of disappointment washed over me. The next morning, I went to work as usual. I met Jaden under the stairs, and he looked at me with a knowing expression that sent chills down my spine. When I came home from work, I was surprised to see a large truck in front of my house with all my belongings. My mom had kicked me out of the house, just as he had said. I rushed inside to explain to her, but he blocked me at the door and wouldn't let me in. I pushed him aside and went in to talk to my mom, who was waiting for me in the living room. To my shock, she told me to leave the house and accused me of plotting to take her property. She hurled insults at me, each word like a knife piercing my heart. I cried and ran out of the house while he closed the door and looked at me with the face of a victor. That face etched itself into my memory, and I vowed to myself that I would get revenge on him at all costs. After being kicked out of the house, I tried to contact my mother to tell her the truth about Jaden. After many days, I finally received a reply from her. We met at a coffee shop near my house. At first, my mother didn't believe me, clinging to the comforting illusion of the man she thought she knew. But as I peeled back the layers of deception, she began to see the truth for herself, her eyes widening in horror as she realized the extent of Jaden's deceit. The confrontation that followed was like something out of a nightmare, a whirlwind of accusations and recriminations that left us all reeling in its wake. My mother was devastated, her heart shattered by the revelation that the man she loved and trusted had been using her for his own selfish gain. My mother and I returned home and looked for Jaden to question him, but he wasn't there. We waited for him until evening. When Jaden's lies were finally exposed before our eyes, he became desperate. His once confident facade crumbled like a sandcastle battered by relentless waves. He hurled venomous words and wild accusations, his anger a fiery inferno that threatened to consume us all. He stormed out of the house, and we thought it was over. But then her assistant called and informed my mother that the company was facing a crisis and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Jaden had secretly transferred all of my mother's assets into his own account and fled. My mother couldn't stand it anymore. Another huge shock fell on our family. I screamed in desperation, "What am I going to do now? What am I going to do to save my family?" Update: 1 month later, our family officially went bankrupt. The news spread like wildfire, but my mother didn't give up. She contacted all of our old partners and friends in an attempt to save the company. However, to our surprise, these friends didn't help us in our time of need. The truth behind this was that Jaden had manipulated them and constantly badmouthed my mother to them. But it seemed like God had heard my prayers. My father's best friend contacted my mother after hearing about the news, and he helped us save the company. Jaden is still unknown. We don't know where he went. But my mother's friend said he taught him a lesson for his lies and betrayal. In the end, justice had been served, and we were free to move forward with our lives, stronger and more resilient than ever before. The road ahead would be long and difficult, filled with obstacles and challenges that we couldn't yet foresee. But with the truth on our side and the love of family to guide us, I knew that we would emerge victorious, ready to face whatever the future held with courage and determination. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.